while we're waiting for more questions in the queue, I would like to introduce you to the new Fishbowl. Fishbowl decided to rebrand and get rid of the orange fishbowl. And, you know, I really already missed the orange fishbowl, but oh well. This is a light mode of the new in-product branding. And when I come here to purchase order, actually, I think I'd rather go to the receiving screen because that's much more important screen. But I come here and I call up an entry. And over here, as I hover, I have a little bit of color, but I have no color on my icons here and not much here. So I've tried this in dark mode, and it really makes the home screen pop. But the lack of color on the icons for the whole screen versus the individual line item makes those hard to find, especially if you're used to navigating by color. Now, for those of you who might be colorblind, I guess you won't care. Anyway, to get to dark mode, I can come over here from the Setup Company screen. I can come here to Program Options, and under General, I can change it from light mode to dark mode. But I have to restart the server to do that, so I'm not going to do it right now. But you might want to practice each kind of mode and see which one suits your fancy. So with that said, let's move on to our first question.
Okay, so these were more questions about the webinar. One person asked, is this going to be provided to us? Or if this recording will be provided to us, and the answer is yes, it will be on our website by the end of the week. And I'm still waiting for more questions for you, Jeanne.
Oh dear, we came on to the Ask the Expert webinar with no questions for the expert. So I'm supposed to punt. There are some fun things happening here. You know, Fishbowl had a webinar last week or a couple weeks ago about a new partner that has some very exciting tools, reporting tools for MRP and what have you, data mining the Fishbowl data. And we are going to be partnering with them to get you advanced reporting. So if anybody's interested in that, just put it in your little comments box. And Anne-Marie's got a question?
Yep, Anne-Marie, let me go ahead and unmute you.
Hi.
Hi, miss you.
Miss you too. Hey, so we are using QuickBooks credit cards and but we're coming to where we're doing services and we want to have the customer pay in advance. So is there any way to use Fishbowl to send an invoice and pay through Fishbowl without fulfilling the order, get our advance payment, then fulfill it and ship it to the customer? And will that payment go over to the QuickBooks, you know, that we receive?
There is no magic link in the Fishbowl email that links with Intuit Merchant Services to do that. I would almost take a QuickBooks sales order and send that out because they can pay a QuickBooks invoice, and you could have that invoice just say, you know, prepaid services, and have that prepaid services items go to an account called customer deposits. Yeah. Then process the order in Fishbowl, and when it comes over, you can pay that invoice with the prepaid services.
Yep. Just was wondering if there was I heard that Fishbowl was getting a credit card app. Was wondering if that was.
Well, they support several of them. They still don't do the whole enchilada. We still have to, when we're here under sales order, and we're going to refund someone, we still have to come over here and refund the payment manually in Fishbowl. which does not actually do anything, and go up and refund the payment with the merchant service provider. So by refunding the payment in Fishbowl, we get a debit to credit to cash and a debit to accounts receivable on a journal entry. And then when we have that merchant services payment come in short, then that clears it out. So it's awkward. And last time I tried to do it with a QBO file, QBO rejected the concept of a negative payment. So I still have some research to do whether or not it was just that one QBO file or it happens to every QBO file.
Got it.
Okay. Next.
Okay, thanks, Anna Marie. Next, we have Benji. Okay, Benji, I'm unmuting you.
Hi, Benji.
Hi, I am very actually new to this thing, so if
There's no dumb
my
question.
okay, that's actually good because I was going to say that. When I tried to, when I went to the accounting tab to, what do you call it, to link or to integrate or export, it's giving me an error message of, it says NULL. It says that QuickBooks needs to be reconnected. So I don't know how to proceed with that.
So to reconnect QuickBooks, we go here.
Mm-hmm.
And I would test the connection. So QuickBooks has to be on the same, open and running on the same user instance because you're hosted as Fishbowl. And I believe that there's an admin user instance that QuickBooks needs to be open and running on. Because that's where what used to be the little orange fishbowl and is now the blue square with the white omega. So you need to be on that instance of Fishbowl.
Okay. That
to reconnect those, and QuickBooks needs to be open and running. It'll tell you things like you have to be in single user mode. That's not true. Once you've been connected one time, you do not have to go back to single user mode to reconnect. That single user mode requirement is a QuickBooks requirement because in QuickBooks, what's happening is you are going into preferences, integrated applications, and granting permission. And this has to be done with admin and single user mode. Once it happens, you do not have to be admin and single user mode anymore. Okay?
Okay.
So ignore the instructions. And, you know, now I've had some issues with it reconnecting nicely. And I have found that occasionally I have to hit this disconnect right here. And in the old Fishbowl, it was bright red, so danger, Will Robinson, danger. But this wipes out all your account mapping. So what you really want to do, you know, if this is becoming a frustration and you need to disconnect everything before you disconnect, export out the part, product, and vendor pricing export, because that has all your part specific mappings in it. Okay. And that way you can bring it back in after you've disconnected and reconnected.
Okay.
Now, as far as your company is concerned, I'm pretty sure you do not have any part specific mappings at the moment, but this is for everybody online. You know, this is a way to protect yourself. It's amazing how many people call me and went, yeah, well, I was working with Fishbowl and everything went back to the defaults. I'm like, okay, you know, let's fix this. So, all right.
Yes,
Is that more information that you actually wanted?
Yes, yes. Actually, I haven't tried that because I didn't know how to go from there. I was actually personally going to call you, but since I'm already going to attend, so I might as well just ask.
Yeah, save yourself a support session.
Yeah. I do have another question, if you don't mind, and
I
it's
don't
about emailing. So I made several purchase orders yesterday. Um, I wanted to make it easier for myself to actually use the email function within Fishbowl, but it's saying that I cannot email anything. So what I had done was to,
It has to do with this page right here that needs to be in, usually has to be done by your IT guy. Because your IT guy knows the things like SMTP and the ports and blah, blah, blah.
Okay, I did. So I did the email authentication and I did Gmail and I signed in with Google and I still couldn't do it. So I didn't know if there was any other, or there were other information I needed to fill out.
TLS, SSL, port numbers. This is when we call IT.
Okay.
The guy's in charge of the email.
Because that would also be me.
Sorry, Benji.
Yes. Okay. So I just didn't know if there was any other thing that I did not set up correctly, but maybe
the initials after my name are CPA.
Okay.
So there are certain things I don't try to do. There are certain places when it comes to company's network that I do not touch because that's not his job and I don't want to mess things up.
Cool. Yeah, so I will redo it. Maybe I did something wrong, but thank you. I appreciate it. I didn't know if there was some special thing that I need to check or anything like that.
Well, there's also this special thing over here. I got it in the wrong place. Over here, in order to get individual, oh, you're hosted, never mind. I'm not even gonna go there. So.
Okay.
It doesn't work when you're hosted. All right, so next.
Thank you for your question. Next, we have Chrissy. All right, Chrissy.
Hi, so my question is, I have a client that was turnkey inventory, and so they didn't have that added BOM feature, but now we kind of pivoted our business and we're looking to add the BOM feature. And I was wondering, how hard is it and timeline-wise to kind of blow up your Fishbowl file, start over with the BOM feature, and because at the same time I would love to switch over to FIFO, because right now they're using average cost.
Okay, so you do not need to start a new file just to add the manufacturing piece. That is not a necessary thing. Apparently, Fishbowl can change some types of unit of measure from some costing methods from one to the other these days. I ran into one of those the other day. But I would love to know the reasons why you want to move it over to FIFO.
Only because we've had instances where POs have been closed in error at like $0, and so the pricing is wrong to begin with. So
okay, so average cost is the easiest cost to fix because all I have to do is come over here to materials inventory, call up the part and hit this little edit pencil, and I can change what my average cost for this part is. I can fix it. On FIFO, in order to change my FIFO cost, I have to cycle count it down to 0 and then use add inventory to bring it back in.
Okay.
So if it's just one thing right here, I can, let me take something with quantity on hand. So this is obviously a demo file. So I would take that down to 0. And then I would add that part right back. But this time I'm prompted for a cost.
Okay.
And I've fixed the cost. I have a saying, I hate it when people put purchase orders out there as 0. That's against my rules.
I know. I don't have control of everything.
I get that. But here's my response when they say, well, I don't know exactly how much it's going to be. And I say, you want to be 100% wrong or 10% wrong?
Yeah.
And usually I get through the purchasing guide using that line.
Mm-hmm.
You might want to try it.
When you make that entry, what kind of effect does it have on the balance sheet? Because our goal too is the balance sheet and Fishbowl have never matched. I kind of inherited this client, and would making that adjustment that you showed me using average cost, would that then flow through to the balance sheet?
Yes, it does, and the income statement. So the cycle count out hit was a debit to inventory adjustment, and the add inventory was a credit to inventory adjustment. The opposite side being the inventory asset account.
Okay.
So you might, in your efforts to match Fishbowl and QuickBooks, I have written a blog, the top 10 reasons why Fishbowl and QuickBooks don't balance. You might want to review that. It might make your job a little easier.
Where is that?
It's on my website, tarabyte.com, under blogs.
Oh, perfect. And then if it's okay, since I have you, it's a simple one, hopefully. I have an ops manager who manages Fishbowl, and I've asked him multiple times to change the account mapping for some discounts, but it never seems to kind of be fixed. So there's like an OI discount that I want to match to OI, but it keeps on going to a sales discount account, which is someplace else from a prior accountant.
So there's a default mapping and a specific mapping generally throughout Fishbowl. And so here I would come to my sales order screen, and then I have discounts. So right now these are all set to go to the default accounts. And of course I disagree with these default accounts because the guy who advised Fishbowl on the accounting back in the day defined discount expense as offering a discount and discount income as reversing a discount that on a credit memo. So most of us wouldn't go that way. So I double click into here and I can change it to the other account.
Okay.
Okay, so it's under the sales discount, and you can change where it's going to go. Before you do that, you will probably want to come here to accounting integration, and you want to hit accounts, and this refreshes the accounts from QuickBooks to Fishbowl, because QuickBooks is the master for the accounts and Fishbowl is the master for everything else.
Okay. Thank you.
No problem. Next.
Okay, thank you, Chrissy. Next we have Mary.
Hi, Mary.
Oh, hold on, I'm a little slow here to unmute her. Okay, Mary, you're unmuted on my end. I believe you're muted on yours.
Can you hear me?
I can now.
Oh, good. Okay, hello. We are using Shopify and we're importing into Fishbowl, and we're having quite the fiasco with the sales tax and how to properly handle this in Fishbowl and then, coming into QuickBooks.
Well, that might be a nice segue to my guest speaker, Avatax. But what should happen is the tax is being calculated at the cart level.
Yes.
Okay. And we do not want to recalculate anything on that sales order after it's in Fishbowl.
Yes.
So the tax item that we should be using in the cart is a Shopify tax, so we know, and it should just be a line item. It should not be in the sales tax field.
Correct.
Okay.
Got it.
And then it's going to come over to QuickBooks as your sales tax payable. In order to do your returns, you're going to be spending some time over in Shopify, sorting out what was charged for each jurisdiction, as opposed to relying on the QuickBooks categories.
Okay.
Okay.
So, you know, when we have even Arizona, which is where we're based, it comes over as the line item, but we down at the bottom left, we have to change that tax to the Arizona tax that's in QuickBooks. So we're having to
changing the tax.
Well, she changes it to the Arizona tax that's set up in QuickBooks just to use the QuickBooks. Okay.
You're just going to go somewhere else for your reporting.
Okay.
So for your jurisdictional reporting.
Okay. Including Arizona, where we are.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
So, you know, that's a situation where, you know, we're used to doing it this way in QuickBooks. And, you know, how dare you not let me have on my QuickBooks report to be exactly what I'm used to. That's that kind of situation right here.
Got it.
Don't touch it. And, you know, maybe Avatax is the answer. Take all the frustration of sales tax away.
Okay.
Okay.
I'm looking forward to that.
All right.
Thank you.
Next question.
Jeanne, do you think that would be a good time to introduce Matt since it's tax related?
Is Matt here?
Yes, he is.
Hey, Jeanne, how are you?
Great, just perfect segue. We had a sales tax question just seconds ago.
I know. I was getting really excited. It's really, when I hear sales tax, I'm like, I can't just jump right in. I got to remind myself just to calm down. So, definitely. So, and thank you, Jeanne, for having me today, and thanks everybody for allowing me to be part of the program today. So, I want to show a couple things, and what I'd like to do, Jeanne, I'm sharing my screen where I can show Avatax. Can you see it?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. And so for the whole audience, right, Avalara is a sales tax automation company and great partnership with Jeanne. Jeanne, I got to say, I miss seeing you at the trade shows. It's not the same. It's so different. So, you know.
I'll be there in whatever month Joe moved it to this time.
I'm ready. I'm telling you, I'm ready. I haven't been on a plane in a long time. But, you know, the key thing is, right, I like to phrase it like this. And for everybody that's on the call, Avalara is a sales tax automation company. We can help you as much or as little as you need. And our core product is called Avatax. Now, Avatax is our sales tax engine that can do tax calculations, file sales tax returns, and then also manage exemption certificates. And we have what we call pre-built integrations. They're connectors. It's an internal term that we label them, where we have a connector for QuickBooks Online. We have a connector for QuickBooks Desktop. We have a connector built for Fishbowl. And at a high level, we have that integration. So whenever you need tax calculated, it will reach out to our tax engine and we will calculate sales tax. And a lot has changed over the course of the past couple of years. And I'll dive onto a little bit of the Shopify question, Jeanne, that came up a few minutes ago before I dove in. But Avatax has these pre-built integrations where effectively you'll tell Avalara what states you collect tax in, what products and services you sell, and where you have locations or any other complex rules surrounding your tax profile. So we have these integrations into Fishbowl, QuickBooks, and over 800 different applications. Odds are we have an integration if you're using some sort of funky type industry standard. But we can do the calculations. And what happens is when you go to invoice somebody or they check out on your web store, if you're using like a Magento or a WooCommerce, we can calculate tax in real time. So we calculate the tax. We also determine if what you're selling is taxable at the individual line item level. And then we can also file the sales tax returns and remit the payments as well. And one of the key things we've seen, Jeanne, that a lot of folks are looking to get help with is, how do I track economic nexus? That's one of the #1 things people want help with. And about 2.5 years ago, the whole sales tax world got flipped on its head. And they said, if you sell a certain amount into a state now, you have to get registered. And the majority of the states, Jeanne, are $100,000 or 200 individual transactions. And so we have this automated, directionally guided heat map inside of our software where we'll let you know you've met a threshold in a state or you're approaching a threshold in a given state. So it's kind of like a safety net, if you will, for your out-of-state sales. And the way they label a remote seller, Jeanne, is that if you sell to a state and you never go there, so let's say you live in North Carolina where I am, and you do $100,000 worth of sales to South Carolina, or you sell 200 individual orders to South Dakota. With the new rules and the regulatory changes, you would have to get registered in those additional states. And we can automate the registrations, the filings, the calculations. It's as simple as setting up your company profile. And that's one of the biggest things companies are going through right now, is where they need a safety net. Sales tax is not their bread and butter. It's not something they want to rely on their CPA or their bookkeeper or whatever to do, because most companies, Jeanne, they're having to get registered in 5, 10, 15, 20 states. And that's where we're seeing the need for the automation. So we have the ability to track economic nexus. We can then also file the sales tax returns. This is one of the things that's really cool in our automation, which the most people want to find out how to automate. And what we do is we populate a liability worksheet from the 1st to the 5th of every month under the return section, where it'll show how much your sales were, how much were taxable, and then we can actually file the sales tax returns and remit the payments. So from the 1st to the 6th, we populate a worksheet. You have from the 6th to the 10th to make any adjustments, and then you log in once a month or once a quarter, and you simply hit approve, and then we'll go file the returns and manage any tax notices. We get any timely filing discounts. The key caveat is the states will determine the form you file, as well as how often, so the frequency, monthly, quarterly, annually, or semi-annually, and then we will automate all the rest of that once you've effectively turned on and configured your sales tax profile. So again, I like to say Avalara can help as much or as little as you need, but we're able to file the sales tax returns, calculate the sales tax. You can run very granular reports inside of Avatax. One of the things we hear a lot is, well, how do you know if what we're selling is taxable or not? And that's one of the key secret pieces to Avatax is we have these Avalara system tax codes where you pick which code best describes the product or services you're selling. So let's just say you were selling eyewear, hypothetically, right? We have this wizard where you'll answer a few questions, and then we'll populate based on how you're selling it or who you're selling it to, whether or not it's taxable, and also which product to use. So I'm just going through the wizard real quick here. So this Avalara system tax code says you're selling healthcare products, contact lenses with a prescription reimbursed by Medicaid. You map this one time, and then we make that determination in Fishbowl, QuickBooks, whether you're selling online, whether or not it's taxable or not. So that's one of the key things. And the states that are making a lot of changes, Maryland, this is a crazy fact, Jeanne, I don't know if you heard this, but Maryland changed on March 14th. Overnight, on March 14th, they said, we are now taxing digital services. So if you're a company that does have to collect tax in Maryland and you sell digital services and you never had to charge tax before, in the middle of the night, in the middle of the month, Maryland made that change. The good news is, if you were using Avatax, we'd have that done automatically behind the scenes inside of your Avalara account based on those tax codes. So we can help you get registered in additional states. We can track economic nexus. We're here to help. The way I'll phrase it to Jeanne, and any way that Jeanne is referred over, is we're going to have a consultation with you. The first and foremost, we typically set up a 30-minute Zoom. Make sure you're comfortable with what states you are collecting sales tax in and or should, and then we can walk through your processes to see if you're a good fit. The question that came up right when I was jumping on, Jeanne, was about Shopify. So there's a lot of companies that are leveraging Shopify as their cart. Shopify has a basic, a pro, and an advanced versions. Those 3 versions, we don't have a way to calculate tax in real time, but we do have an integration into Shopify Plus. So they open up their APIs where we can calculate tax on the Plus version in real time. And so it really depends on whether the majority of your sales are. If you're 100% e-commerce and you're a $5 million company a year, I would recommend entertaining going to Shopify Plus. If it's a small portion of your business, you could just take those invoices and we could calculate tax for filing purposes when you get them into QuickBooks. But again, we're here to help. Great partnership. Jeanne, I miss seeing you at the trade shows. Looking forward to the next one. And I'll be on here if there's any other questions sales tax related.
Okay. So today's my first vaccine shot. I don't know how everybody in their 20s got it ahead of me, but they did. So we're ready to go to our next question.
Yes. Before we do that, do you want to share? Oh, you got it. Okay. Thanks, Matt. So yeah, like you mentioned, he's going to be here for a little while longer. And if you have any questions about Avalara, please put them in the questions panel and I'll refer them over to him. All right, next person is Andrew Wyatt. Andrew, thank you for joining us. You're new. Welcome.
Hi,
Hey, how's it
Andrew.
going? Hey, nice
It's
to meet
going
you. Yeah, so my question was, we have an issue where if we expire an order in Fishbowl, after we've received a payment, say we expire it there, we're using WooCommerce, so we'll generally do the refund for a third party like PayPal or Klarna, which is what do you call it, a financing site. When we do that, it doesn't reconcile in QuickBooks. She had sent me the link to the top 10 reasons why it doesn't. So I'll take a look at that. But I was wondering if you had a quick, yeah.
So PayPal in and of itself is a bank account. It's not only a processor, but it's its own bank account. So here under Setup, Settings, Payment Methods, what we should be doing here is modifying this so that this is going into the deposit account PayPal. And the default in QuickBooks has always been undeposited funds, and that works great because it is the spot on your desk that you stack the checks before you take them to the bank. But when you're dealing with these credit card transactions, it doesn't work so well. So, because often we have hundreds and thousands of transactions that we're depositing into the bank. So I'd like to create a credit card clearing account that doesn't have the restrictions that QuickBooks Undeposited Funds has, and it's much easier to reconcile. So we're putting the money in that account, and when it's time to make the merchant services deposits, we are depositing from that account to our bank account and recording the fees. So that's the first thing in setup that would help, is if you were pointing it towards the right, the place it's actually going to land. So you have expired orders that have been paid. That's interesting. Why are they expiring?
So the main reason is like if someone cancels an order, or they rather than canceling it or completely deleting the order out, we'll just expire it. Maybe that has something to do with the reason, maybe we shouldn't be doing that. But basically we're refunding them. We have to refund them through PayPal. So if I look at PayPal or Klarna, we can get the report. We could see the fees like you were saying, and we can see the refunded amount. But it's not showing QuickBooks because it never flows back through Fishbowl.
Okay, well, the first thing you do here is you make a negative payment.
Okay. So
you select the appropriate method, and then I'm going to put in -50. And I'm going to quote unquote process. And it just, so that's going to go over to QuickBooks. And I'm going to, I was going to use QuickBooks Online today. but it needed multi-currency and I didn't have time to turn that on before we started. But I promise, nah, that's not happening to me. Ah, modal dialog box open. Okay. QuickBooks can be kind of finicky about what it allows in.
Yeah, that's kind of what we're seeing. So similar situation. What screen were you on where you did that negative, the negative
I was on
transaction?
the sales order screen itself.
Sales order. Okay, so you have to do a negative payment on the sales order, then expire it, and then it should show up in QuickBooks, and obviously that would match.
Yes.
Aside from that, you said it also feeds the fees through, but would that also be the case? Would you have to?
When you go to make that deposit from my clearing account into the regular business account,
Mhm.
you need to make the deposit for the total minus the fees that go to an expense account and then net the deposit. Otherwise, you're leaving those fees building up
Oh, okay.
and not
Yeah,
clearing.
and that's what we were seeing as well. Yeah, so it was showing on the export that we did for the report on the third party, and we see the fees initially, but we don't see the refund for the fees either. So I wasn't sure if you were saying we needed to include the value of the fees in the negative.
Right. What cancel? Why is that still open? So what my deposit should be looking like in QuickBooks and cancel. Deposit to money payments. From account, credit card clearing. All right. So this first one should be my gross. Okay.
Mhm.
And this should be my fees, which is a minus sign. So let's just go whatever it is. And then I don't think I have credit card clearing refunds, maybe another minus. So this is going to add up to my net deposit that's going into my primary bank account. But I'm pulling all that money out of the credit card clearing account.
Okay. All right.
Going into the credit card clearing account is gross.
Got it. All right, we'll give that a shot because we definitely haven't done the negative balance. The other thing I was going to mention, I don't want to like steal the show or anything, but the question that Benji had, I was going to suggest that in Fishbowl he check the actual email settings for. I didn't know if he was trying to email out of Fishbowl or QuickBooks, but there's two things that we did where we went into the Fishbowl settings, and you have to set up SMTP there as well, and then you also have to go into the QuickBooks integration, and you have to make sure that to be emailed is checked off if you want a copy of the invoice sent to the customer.
Yeah, but it wasn't invoices it was sending. It was purchase orders.
Yeah. So the purchase order setting, the email setting in there, I didn't know. I was just I had sent something in the chat that we had to set up on or for that to work.
Yeah. So my preference, unless we have a workflow that requires an invoice to go out at the time of shipment, my preference is to use QuickBooks because it has this wonderful, file. All right. Send forms. And you can just send now. And they're all sitting there waiting for you. So
Cool. That was it.
that's it. My preference is, I mean, unless I have a real reason to send from Fishbowl on invoices, it's faster doing it out of QuickBooks. Okay.
Cool.
Next.
Thank you for your question and for that tip. Next, we have Rodney. I'm going to go ahead and unmute him.
Hi, Rodney. This is Jeanne. Seems like this is the first time you and I have met as well.
It looks like he's muted. That's okay. I'll go ahead and ask his question for him.
Can you hear me now, Ms. Jeanne?
No.
Yeah.
Okay, excellent. I'm a new user to Fishbowl, and so I have a client. I was looking at their QuickBooks inventory, and I'm trying to determine why there is a discrepancy between what's in Fishbowl versus what's in QuickBooks. And so my first question is, where do I go to confirm that the mapping is correct?
Okay, so there's 2 levels of mapping in Fishbowl.
Okay.
I'm still getting used to the new colors. Still looking for that orange. And over here under accounting,
Okay.
we just go here, reports,
The reports.
accounting, and this will give you the default mappings that are mapping. Okay.
Okay.
This is to make sure that everything going to QuickBooks has an account associated with it.
Understood.
But this is the fail-safe. We can have individual parts and products mapped to QuickBooks as well. So to test out the individual mapping, and when I go here, because this is fast and sweet, and export out my favorite PPV.
Export. Okay.
And I open this. And I throw in a data filter.
Okay.
And now I'm going to base it on part-time. So the first thing I want to look at is my inventory parts. And so when I do that, and unfortunately this file doesn't have specific mappings, I'm going to have to change that just for grins. But I go down this asset account and everything should be a balance sheet account.
Okay. So
For
asset sheet. Okay.
And everything COG should be a P&L account, as well as adjustments and scrap.
Okay.
All right. This cost variance account doesn't come into play unless we're using standard cost. So now that I'm happy that all my assets are going to the right place, we go to what can make trouble. So all of these are other than inventory that have different things. And what we want to make sure of is that that's a P&L account and that's a P&L account, etc. Okay? Because a lot of times something will get set up as a non-inventory part, but will end up being coded to an asset account because the person running the part is not an account. Nor do they have a process whereby they have to visit accounting to find out what the account mapping should be.
Okay.
So if any of these are going to my inventory asset account, every time I buy them, it's increasing my inventory account. And it's never going to show up on our report because only type 10s show up on the inventory valuation report. As the first place I start when I'm solving the why do Fishbowl and QuickBooks not map.
Okay, excellent. And then my next question is,
I've got 9 other reasons on my blog. So. Okay.
And then my next question is that so I did do that, and and verified that the accounting was correct. So I wanted to make sure I was going to the right place.
Okay.
And then I ran the export report. And should the export report, whatever that total is, and whatever those designations that are showing up, should that total match what's in QuickBooks?
No.
I said no? Okay.
So on this order, looks like I've got two inventory items. I've got two inventory items in sales tax. If I take my selling price right here, it's going to be grossed up by the sales tax in the bottom. These mostly are going to be inventory items because this is a sample data file.
Okay.
But it pays no attention to account codes. So you get everything that hit cost of goods sold, whether it was a non-inventory item or an inventory item or. So this is not necessarily the number that hits your inventory asset account.
Okay, it's not the number. Okay.
However, knowing these reports were flawed, I wrote my own. And at the bottom here, I probably could have done it without detail. And at the bottom here, it's going to show me all the transactions, the debits and credits to each account that came from sales orders. Don't say hip hip hooray too fast.
Excellent. No, I'm just pausing to, yeah, that's excellent.
Okay, and so with these 4 export reports, because we export each type of transactions, you can do a roll forward and a roll back on your inventory. But there are other things that can go wrong. So Fishbowl, even though they think they've solved the problem, I've yet to see it in practice. There is no report that I have seen that was truly accurate for a prior moment in time than now.
Okay.
So what I always do and have everybody do is schedule a daily valuation report to run every night. That way, whether we're on vacation at month end or whatever else, we have the target dollar amount for each day, each night to help us track. Okay. Because running this report by hand 2 days after month end, you're going to get completely different numbers than you did on month end.
Okay.
All right. So that's a big tool. And then another place where life gets awful is in receiving. So this is where accounting should be coming in and doing a 3-part match. And I have this rule that when we reconcile, okay, that one's not been received, so we don't reconcile that. But here is the actual receive date, so that should be the bill date.
Okay.
Because when we receive these 3 parts, Fishbowl sent over an item receipt to QBD or a journal entry to a holding account if you're QBO, and recorded the inventory and the liability at that point in time. If I put any other date where that bill date is, I am moving the dollars at QuickBooks to a different day. I call this dancing dollars. And it is the source of many. Usually between mapping and here, I'm usually kind of done with most hunts for the discrepancy.
Okay,
How's that for a starter?
it's a great starter.
Okay,
Thank you very much.
welcome.
Thank you, Rodney. And the reports that she said we created, those are found on our website. They're called the Controller's Toolbox reports. Okay, next we have, that was the report you're referring to, right, Jeanne?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, next we have Maki. I'm gonna go ahead and unmute you.
Hi, Maki.
Maki, you're self-muted on your end.
Hi, Jeanne.
Hi.
So my question was related to the inventory discrepancy just you answered. So when you see a huge discrepancy between Fishbowl and QuickBooks, what other steps would you recommend to do?
Well, I'm going to stay on this screen. So if I were to come here and filtered for everything that was reconciled, that means somebody put dollars in QuickBooks before we got dollars in Fishbowl. When we reconcile before we receive. So if anything's in a reconciled state, that's a problem. Okay.
Okay.
On this screen. The other thing, so now this is pretty much the low-lying fruit. So about now I switched the search to QuickBooks, and I am now over here in the audit reports. And I am looking at the inventory asset account to see whether or not people have been changing and deleting transactions that came from Fishbowl. Because that's a no-no.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Okay.
And the audit trail will give me a feeling for how much the people are respecting Fishbowl or not. You know, but the bigger the difference, the easier it is to find. The other thing on the dancing dollar side that I would do is back to another one of the reports that's in the controller's toolbox is there we go. Transaction detail receiving. Date received, and we'll go for all because, and all I care about is my receipts. So this guy's designed to go out to Excel. He is not to be bothered with on paper because there's no way all this will fit on a piece of paper. Okay. Oh, I think it's under D for demo. There we go. So now I'm going to go there. And this guy is designed because a lot of times the client will say, oh, no, we always make them match. So I get rid of this. I decided this column is not necessary. So this is my receive date in June in G, and my bill date in H. And those are my two important dates.
Okay.
So if I come here and I throw a data filter on it, can you tell I like my data filters? So let's just say I want everything that's received in 2019. All right. And now I come here and I look at the bill dates and look, I got a bunch of 2019 stuff that was, the bill was dated 2020. That is the source of a difference. Okay.
Okay.
Another place I look is I look for journal entries in QuickBooks that were not made by Fishbowl, otherwise known as the tax guy.
Right. So what I did was compare the journal entries in QuickBooks and refer to the asset valuation report from Fishbowl. And I take the delta between the month, so you can see how much increased inventory or decrease in inventory. Then what I saw was in Fishbowl, the inventory was increased by like 10,000. In QuickBooks, it was like decreased by like 10,000. So what would you say where the difference come from?
Oh, I would say that that's a date problem.
Date problem? Okay.
Yeah. 9 times out of 10, it's going to be a purchasing problem. Either it's dates, we reconciled it before we received it, we changed it in QuickBooks on the other side. There's a, when Fishbowl sends it over via the API, all account mapping is correct with respect to how it was in Fishbowl. I have seen people say, well, the vendor sent us 2 bills for this, so I'm going to delete it off of this bill that came from Fishbowl and put it on this bill that came from, so I can have 2 reference numbers on my check stub. And when they do that, they change the account mapping from inventory or whatever to, excuse me, to whatever FB underscore item is pointed to, which is usually sales retail. So another place to look is in my QuickBooks, on my P&L, is to come here and double click on my income and then filter for bills. And there may or may not be an example of this in here. So that didn't happen here. But if somewhere to go home, and let's go to a vendor bill. Let's show you how that would work. So all I'm going to do is move this down here. So I'm going to make this $2,000. And it's still FB underscore item. It looks the same. But now when I do Control Y, it's going to show me that it's hitting sales. Recalculate. Save. Okay. So Control Y. This is hitting sales. That for some reason was hitting sales before. Maybe I did this example on this bill before. But you can mess up you never use FB underscore item directly in QuickBooks.
Right.
It loses the account coding. Anything else?
No, that's it. Thank you.
Okay. Got a lot of serious accountants here today.
All right, thank you. Okay, so next we have Seth.
Hi, Seth.
Okay, he's unmuted on my end. Seth, are you there? Let me just ask his question on his behalf then. Hi, Jeanne. My inventory asset totals are not matching up from Fishbowl to QuickBooks Online. What could be the cause of if the softwares are supposed to be in sync? He also has another question, but I'll wait for you to answer that first one.
Well, the first one is, it's not a sync, it's a push. And there, in QuickBooks Online, there are a couple of issues that I believe they're fixed as of this month, but there's some issues with the holding account and the way we reconcile. So if I were to come in here to Fishbowl and I was to go to my receiving screen and I had, let's see. All right. So I'm going to receive this as of today. And then I'm going to, okay, I need multiple lines here. All right. These were received. I'm going to receive this one as of today. And lot number. Okay. So if in QBO, I went in here and reconciled this and all on one bill, it wouldn't know how to reverse these two entries out of holding. It would just put the whole bill in as of today. That was one problem that was happening. Another problem that was happening is, you know how we get sometimes that duplicate vendor name? And so QuickBooks rejects it. Well, in QBO, QuickBooks was rejecting the bill, but the journal entry for the accrual was happening. So I had one customer, I'm going to use the extreme example, they were set up to auto post every hour or something. They had one bill that the vendor name was bad on. And so every time it tried to post the bill, it posted the journal entry. Next time it tried to post the bill, it posted the journal entry. They ended up with that journal entry posting 160 times for the one receipt. So that made them inventory off 500, 600,000 right there. So if I'm in QBO, the first place I'm going to look, before I do everything else I do with mapping, is I'm going to look for that holding account and see whether or not it's balancing itself out. And to do that, I take it to Excel and do some magic. But make sure Steph is actually here to listen to the magic.
Yeah, Seth. Okay, well, should we ask his other question that he had? He had a second one. Okay. What reports should I be comparing on Fishbowl and QuickBooks on a regular basis to make sure things are matching up and syncing properly?
Balance sheet to inventory valuation. I would do an inventory valuation report that happened every night so that my transactions were current.
Okay, thank you. So I unmuted Wendy. Wendy's next. Wendy Kowalski. Sorry, I totally butchered that. I'm not going to repeat last names. All right, Wendy, go ahead and ask your question.
Hi, Wendy.
Oh, I think she's having some audio issues. Yes. Let me ask her question for her. All right. We are slow to get our receipts and shipments in, so we do not run real time. I'm struggling with getting the GL to balance with the FB inventory evaluation. Is there a report to get movement?
The reports to get movement would be my controller toolbox reports. I'm curious as what you mean by you're not running real time. Are we backdating things? That would be worrisome because you kind of lose control over most everything you're doing then. If you only have one location group, however, there is a great standard report in Fishbowl. You'd never know it by its name, and it is called the Inventory Variance Report. Okay, so this only runs by a location group. So you'd have to add up multiple location groups, but right now it's just a beautiful report. So it starts out with the beginning quantity and your end quantity and shows you all the transactions that got you from here to there. And it's, you know, when you hear variance reports, you expect it to be dollar differences and what have you. It's not. It's the tie out of the activity on the part. I hope that helps.
Oh, she says we are backdating. So she's going to be sending us chats because, again, she's having audio issues.
Well, backdating kind of defeats the purpose. Why are we backdating? Are we, you know, is our our terms that we're taking ownership at
Oh.
point of shipment?
Wendy, you're unmuted.
Can you,
Are you with us?
can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes. Yay.
Oh, yay. Okay, so we don't have the computers out on the dock where we should be doing our receiving or our shipments. So everything gets done after it goes into the office. So I think that's our biggest issue with our inventory not matching. And I have the daily valuation runs, but if Fishbowl doesn't get anything input into it today, and then tomorrow we do 2 days worth, it kind of defeats the purpose. We're always behind.
So you know what my answer is going to be to that?
Get them to be timely.
Well, no, I would just go ahead and date it the day of I'm doing the transaction.
Oh, okay.
You know, the only time when we really have to have an actual cut is when we have an audited year end. And you can, you know, using that one report with the transaction detail, I can say, okay, this is how much it should have been. Or we can get, there are reports that can run so you can quantify how much you backdated. In QuickBooks, I could do date posted versus the transaction date. But
Okay.
make your life easier so that you could reconcile any given month, I would stop backdating and I would just let the transaction be the transaction be.
Okay, so if we receive something today and we don't go to put it in until Friday, the date needs to be Friday.
Just let it be Friday, yeah.
Okay.
Now, ideally, receiving would be pushed out to the shop where it's actually happening.
Yeah, we're working on we've got the computers out there, but we don't have the people that are doing it aren't computer trained. So we're working on that.
I wish you well.
Thank you.
All
Okay.
right.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Okay, so I do see Anna Marie has a couple of questions here. I hope it's okay that we give some time to the people who haven't had a chance yet. And then we'll go back to you, Anna Marie. So we have Chris here. Chris, I'm going to unmute you.
Hi, Chris.
And you are self-muted. Okay. Well, I'll answer or ask her question. How do I correct XML errors when pushing from Fishbowl to QuickBooks?
You're going to call Fishbowl's Tier 2 support.
Okay.
There's something in that transaction that QuickBooks is rejecting, and it's usually something esoteric. And Tier 2 can come in here and they've got a log tool and they can set up a SQL query to find the bad transaction and fix it behind the scenes.
Okay. Thank you, Jeanne. She did have some technical issues, but you answered that quickly. All right, so now we have Monica. Monica, I hope you don't have any tech issues. Oh, there you are. Are you self-muted? Yeah, you can unmute yourself.
Okay, I have a question because Jeanne, I made a mistake in Fishbowl, and I was on a purchase order that had already gone through the receiving process. I was testing something out and I deleted a line that related to the shipping fee on the PO.
Oh, that's no problem at all.
It isn't?
No.
Okay. Good. Tell me how to fix it.
So typically, I don't put shipping lines on the PO to begin with because Fishbowl is designed for you to add all those charges after the fact. So just pull up your receipt.
Uh-huh.
I'm in the wrong place. I need to be in receiving. So pull up your receipt. Give me something received. Pull up your receive.
Okay.
And then when you go to reconcile, we're going to follow my date convention. So that this was 4/14/2020 and whatever the bill number is here. But the next page is designed to put other items onto the bill. So I could put my shipping charge right there.
Okay.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And this little box, if this was an outside charge from a different vendor, I can uncheck that box and it'll go to an accrual account. So we're going to pretend it's the same on the vendor. And then on this screen, you have a choice of landing or not landing cost, unless, of course, you've got this yellow triangle. So right here, we're just going to say do not calculate. And so that shipping expense will go to shipping expense line over in QuickBooks. And we're done.
Okay, Jeanne, when you were talking about landing the cost, you're talking about whether or not I wanted to allocate to each item on that PO, right? Versus just going solely to
shipping
the,
expense. Instead of going straight to shipping expense, yes.
Right. So what option should I always choose so that it goes straight to shipping? I need to select manually?
What you can do under tools, module options, reconcile, calculate landed cost by, do not calculate. You will not get that screen.
Got it. Okay.
So if you're expensing all your freight, change the module option and live happily ever after.
Excellent. Okay. And so when it comes to shipping, always add that on at the point of using the global reconcile icon.
Yeah. I mean, it's one less thing your purchasing agent has to do, and you've got the actual bill in front of you. Just go for it.
Okay. And today, during this webinar, have you gone over credit returns?
No, not specifically. We've gone over refunding payment, but not actually getting a credit return.
Yes.
So are we talking about purchasing credit returns, or are we talking about sales credit returns?
I would love it if you would do both, but if you don't have time to do both, just give me one of them.
Stephanie, what is our queue like?
We have about 4 more questions. 1, 2, 3, 4.
So I'll start with the sales side because it's more complicated. So here under sales, we have a choice. We can issue an RMA to a customer. The value of that RMA is in the fact that we now have something in the system that says we are waiting for this to come back and we can do things like track why it's coming back.
Okay.
So we consistently use this RMA system, then we could track the why. We could set up custom codes so we understood why we were getting things back. So, but otherwise, it's totally optional. We can go straight here for a sales order. And I'm going to take something that's been fulfilled. And now, because I'm lazy and I don't want to write all this down on notes, I'm going to do this. I'm going to, because Yogi Bear is my hero. So I'm duplicating the sales order. And now what I usually do is change that to be my original sales order with an R, because you can have duplicate sales order numbers. And let's say this frame is coming back. Okay. I'm going to change it from sale to credit return. And let's say this was staying. So I'm going to delete that line off. And maybe it's only one of those three frames.
Okay.
So now I have my credit return. It's got all the right information in the header. I go ahead and I issue it. And then when it shows up at the back door, the guys are going to receive it. Okay.
Okay.
I am showing gender bias, aren't I? Shame on me. So I can receive against my sales order. So this one comes back from Big Al. I hit receive. It would be something with serial number. Okay, I receive it, and that closes that sales order, and it sends over a credit memo to Fishbowl to apply to the customer's account. Credit memo to QuickBooks to apply to the customer's account.
I knew what you meant. Okay. Okay, good. All right, because your best practice is never to change anything in QuickBooks, always to do it in Fishbowl.
Right. I have some slight exceptions if the shipping amount's different or something like that. But if it touches inventory, fingers off the keyboard.
Okay. Got it. Thank you so much.
All right.
All right, thank you. So we're back to Anna Marie. She had a couple of questions.
Now I got to remember my questions. Where were they?
Do you want me to read them for you?
It was Avalara.
Oh, it was for Avalara?
Matt, are you still here?
Yeah.
He had to jump
Oh,
off.
actually, Jeanne, it'll be Jeanne. I mean, where do you map the Avalara tax codes in Fishbowl? Because we are calculating the sales tax in Avalara, even though QuickBooks is actually what we're using for reporting when we pay it. But we need to send the customers their sales tax. So where do I put those codes in Fishbowl?
The codes are in Fishbowl. There's only one code in Fishbowl, and that's AvaTax.
He said when you want to know, like, shipping is not taxable.
Those are mapped in the AvaTax software.
In AvaTax. So it's a question for him. Where do I code that?
Question. We can forward your question to Matt and have him get back with you.
Perfect. And then in QuickBooks, but it would be the same. And then I was going to ask for a recommendation because we're looking at setting up a cart outside, on our website for them to buy maybe 10 or 15 different items. What cart is a recommendation that works well with Fishbowl and rolls right to QuickBooks? Because I'm hearing other people say, "Ooh, yeah," but what cart is a good one that works?
Well, Shopify is one of the most common ones. It's probably what I hear about the most often. And with Shopify, you can not only you can have your B2B, because you're going to only want people who purchase your machines to be able to purchase your parts, right?
Correct. And it's just, these are just like replacement parts, you know, just simple things. Our light bulb goes out. We have a specific light bulb. It's like I said, it's only 10 or 15 items that they could buy.
Shopify's a good cart. You know, yours is probably really simple. And, you know, I'm not a web developer. We use WooCommerce for our whole one item we've got in the cart. We're going to try to make that, you know, better from now. But, you know, it's because WooCommerce works well with the platform our website was written on.
Got it.
So really need to talk to someone with specialty. As long as there is a turnkey integration in Fishbowl, it's going to be a popular cart. So that's 3D, Shopify, Magento, etc. Zoho. So,
thank you.
You're welcome. Next.
Okay. I think that's it. Oh, actually, we have Chris for one last question, and it's how are lot sales handled in Fishbowl? Oh, and then Rodney.
First,
make sure she gets put it out there if you don't. In the break room.
I'm sorry, I muted Anna Marie. Sorry.
Right.
Okay, go ahead.
All right. So, what is a lot sale? Am I talking? Okay. What's Rodney's question?
Okay, yeah, we'll move on to Rodney. Okay, Rodney, I'm gonna unmute you. And I'll go ahead and ask, oh, there he is.
Okay, Jeanne, sorry again, I'm back again, Miss Jeanne. Should the on hand by date reports, should that tie to QuickBooks if everything is mapped correctly?
No.
I don't know if this is the first time we've seen that invoice, but the email was dated March 30th. It says due 3
I have never found that report to be accurate.
Okay.
Than now, it's accurate with respect to quantities, but the costing algorithms can change and what have you, such that even using the historical report, I've yet to see it work. You know, someday I might stumble across somebody's file where it does work, but I don't actually test it that often. That's why I do the daily valuation report.
Okay, so they'll just rely on the daily valuation.
That way, there, I've got it every night.
Okay, so, and again, I'm new to this system, but is there a report in? Hold on one quick second. I'm sorry.
But that was in 2 months, and then we got a $8,000. We paid that to her in 3 installments between January and March.
Is there a report in Fishbowl that I can run that is consistent, that says, okay, this is the inventory value, the quantities that should tie exactly to QuickBooks?
There's nothing.
Okay, there are no quantities in QuickBooks.
Okay.
So all your
value. Yes.
So the one I usually use for my daily valuation report is the asset valuation by account. It doesn't have a quantity on it. And out of the box, it hides the inactive, which can throw it off. I go ahead and hide zero quantity. So if it's up here, I should have a cost. If I have a zero showing up here. Now, part of the controller's toolbox is this report with quantities and unit cost. So if I were to go into accounting, Oh dear, it didn't get loaded. Oh, there it is. So this is what an auditor is going to want to see. Here's my on hand, here's my unit cost, here's my extended cost.
Okay. So hold on, August. Sorry, I got virtual kindergarten going on here as well. But okay, so this report for
5. And I didn't have to go through that.
Yeah, pardon me, Jeanne. So the asset valuation by account report would be the report, because I'm going through a due diligence audit. And so I'm trying to make sure that the reporting ties out to QuickBooks and trying to identify a report that will tie. And it seems like some of the ones I've been using have not, because they're not set up that way.
And all the reports will match as of the moment you run them.
Okay.
That's why, to me, it's really important to have this run every night. Now, if we have a point in time that they're trying to audit, I would go restore the Fishbowl file from that day and work it in a standalone computer and work it that way.
Understood. Okay, understood. Okay, perfect.
Haven't been one of those auditor people.
Lots of fun.
And here's another one that I don't know what costing methods you're on, but this guy shows all the costing layers and how they came through.
Okay.
And I put in a standard cost column that we can compare against. So this is also great for folks who are on standard to see what their actual costs have been so that they can, revise their new standard.
Okay, excellent.
Thank you for letting me do a commercial.
Thank you very much, Ms. Jeanne.
Okay, we have actually one last person. His name is Peter. He had his hand raised.
Hi, Peter.
Hi, Jeanne. I actually spoke with you about a day or two ago. I just have a question. Boy, it seems like most of the questions today were revolved around what I'm dealing with, and that is getting a Fishbowl to tie to QuickBooks. So you gave a lot of great help, and I really want to buy your toolbox. I just got to convince our CFO to do so. But and I'm saying it's well worth it. What's that?
It's not a major expenditure.
No, right. No, exactly. And considering the value of the information. So my question, it doesn't have to do with that exactly, but when I run my inventory reports and I choose last month, for instance, I notice that the date range is running from 1/30 to 2/27. So is there something off with the fiscal calendar in our Fishbowl maybe?
Yeah, there's something off with their date range.
Is it something that I can fix?
No.
Or do you think it's inherent with I'm sorry, I didn't catch that.
I said it's something you can complain about.
Oh, okay. All right. So I didn't know. Okay. So it's just with that. All right. Okay. I'll reach out to him then.
So here's it's been there forever.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I better pay attention because sometimes I'll just go last month, boom, run it and gee, I'm off. And then I just noticed, well, the date range isn't right.
Yeah.
All right. I'll make sure. I mean, I just manually changed it.
I know, but they should
fix that.
It's a basic thing that should just work.
Right. I totally agree with you. Yep, I completely agree. Okay, well, that was my question. Thank you for that.
Well, thank you all very much. It's been a pleasant hour and a half. Thank you very much for viewing this video. And we at Terabyte Solutions are a full service Fishbowl support firm. So we would like to help you with your Fishbowl issues. Give us a ring at 949-645-1019 and we will be happy to help. Thank you very much. Bye.